Good morning, everybody. Let's come on in, find a seat. I'm just going to kick off with a couple little housekeeping items. My name is Amy Leister. I'm a Vice President of Workforce and Business Development at the Greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce. Couple of housekeeping items. The doors and exits are in the back, restrooms right outside. Please silence your phones. This is going to be a really great session. It's my pleasure to be able to introduce Dr. Carrie Demers. She told me I can call her Dr. Carrie, so that's what I'm going to do. Dr. Carrie is a medical director for Pure Review Wellness Center. She has practiced integrative medicine for more than 25 years. After earning her medical degree, she studied massage, yoga, meditation, nutrition, herbal medicine, and Ayurveda. Yeah. She uses all her modalities to support patients' inherent ability to heal. She sees patients, writes articles, lectures nationally on integrative medicine. Dr. Carrie received her bachelor's degree from Vanderbilt University, her medical degree from the University Cincinnati College of Medicine. She is board certified in both integrative medicine and internal medicine. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Carrie.
All right. Can you hear me all right? I'm not good at staying still, so I'm probably going to walk around. Okay. So like we just heard, I've been practicing integrative medicine for the last almost 30 years. And what that means is that I have seen the immense capacity of people to heal. And that my job as a physician is to help people access that capacity, that internal ability to maintain and improve their health. So today we're going to be talking about the brain and how we can support our brain and mind. Before I go there, though, I want just to say that I live and work at the Himalayan Institute. It's a yoga retreat center, and we have a booth here at the marketplace, so please stop by and see us. See if I can do that. Yes, so we were voted the #1 yoga retreat center last year by USA Today. So, and we're in the neighborhood. We're only in Honesdale, so you can come visit us sometime. We're having an open house next month, so maybe you can come check us out. So I run the wellness center at the Institute, and that means I see patients, but I also run wellness retreats, and I am honored to do all those things. I feel like I'm so blessed in my life that I get to do these things. One of the retreats that I run is on vibrant aging. So this presentation originated years ago when I was teaching to a group of people who were worried about aging well. And I changed it some to be more about, to be for anybody. You don't have to be old to care about your brain and how your brain is functioning and how you take care of it, right? We're all aging, I guess. But you don't have to be 50, 60, 70, 80 to really start to worry about your cognitive decline. So today we're going to talk about how we best support our brain and mind. And I have a bunch of slides because it's like my cheat sheet. They're what keep me on track. All right, so I wanted just to point out that when I was a kid, so I'm in my 60s, so when I was a kid, there was a lot of thought that the brain just deteriorated over time, that the brain couldn't recover, that we didn't make new neurons, we didn't make new nerve cells, that we just kind of made do with what we had in our brain just slowly degraded, right? Anybody remember those times you drink a beer and you just kill 2,000 brain cells? Oops, oh well. So that was the idea. It just kind of fell apart over time. But what we know in the last couple of maybe 10, 15 years, maybe 20, but recently there's been a huge rise in neuroscience, in the research around how our brain works. And what we know now is, do you all need seats? Is there? Okay, you're all good. Okay, I'm looking for if there's a few available. There's a few in here. There's a few over here. So if you need a seat, come find one. So the modern view, and also an ancient view, by the way, is that our brains have incredible power to heal and grow and evolve and change through our whole life. And modern neuroscience is saying, yes, that's possible. And just by the way, the ancients, the yoga, Ayurveda, this ancient science that I study, 5,000 years old, said the same thing, that our brains are meant to evolve with us, to grow and expand throughout our whole life, not just stop and, degrade. So that's where we're headed, and how we keep that brain lively and active and shiny. So I'm going to start out with just a few neuroscience concepts. Bear with me, it's only 3 slides, but we'll come back to these things. So this is a picture of 2 nerve cells. So your whole brain and spinal cord and all the nerves in your body, your nervous system is made out of neurons, nerve cells. And they're like, okay, I'm going to tax you. Remember when we used to have landlines? And there were like cables that had wires in them, and they were all directional. They were like passing information from person to person. That's kind of what happens in your neurons. So you can see here that there's cells. There's like the roundish parts are the cell body, and then there's these long tails called axons. And that long tail is transmitting a message. So every nerve cell is transmitting a message, and it could meet up with the next nerve cell, like in this picture, the next nerve cell, and that next nerve cell transmits that same message, but eventually it lands at some organ or some tissue and it causes an effect. Like maybe it lands on a muscle and it makes your bicep flex, or maybe it lands on your liver and makes it secrete bile. But there's a way that the nerve has an effect on where it ends. All right, just saying, that's a nerve cell, and that's how it's doing it's incredible. I actually had the person that taught us neurology in med school was a neurologist, and he ended his 8-week block of teaching the whole nervous system to us by saying, and this is why I believe in God, because it couldn't have evolved out of just random mutation. He's just so, it's an amazing system. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. So these cells, we used to think that they weren't renewable, that we couldn't make new cells. And now we know that we do make new cells. And that's a process called neurogenesis. Neuro means nerve, genesis means creation. So we can make new nerve cells. And so that's like a revelation in the last few, decade. And so far, the data says that we do that in response to exercise and meditation. So I'm going to come back to those things. Just note to self, maybe if I want to keep my brain active and building new neural connections, maybe I need to do those things. So we'll hit those. The other concept, so that's neurogenesis. The other concept is neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity means the ability of your nervous system to modulate, to change, to grow, to adapt. So we're doing that all the time. From birth to now, our nervous system is modulating itself in response to your experience. So from left to right here, there's actually 4 panels. From left to right, there's 4 panels. On the left is there's no neural circuit happening. So we build neural circuitry. We build nerves that connect to each other and build like a highway. Right? So on the very left side, there's hardly anything happening. On the very right side, there's a lot of neurons and a lot of interconnections. You see how that's different? So imagine that very left side is you are learning to drive, right? Remember how hard it was? All these things to think about, my turn signals, the brake, the accelerator, where am I going? Which lane am I in? Right, when you first start, there's no any neural circuitry. You haven't built it yet. But the more you do it over and over and over and over, now you're building these neural connections that make it easy. Right? So learning anything, the piano, whatever, French, whatever you're learning, the more we do it, the more we build these neural circuits that support us continuing to do it. So that can be good and bad. In fact, Dr. Lauren this morning was saying how we can have negative patterns in our head, like I'm going to screw this up, or nobody loves me, right? And we can catch if that's the But that's what I've said over and over. I've got a pretty strong neural circuit. I've got something that's like a superhighway supporting that same thought. But what she said, if I catch myself and I put in a new thought and I practice a new way of thinking over and over and over, I actually prune away that old thinking. So I can go from right to left here. I can prune away at that habit and create a new habit. So this is what I mean by plasticity. I can build things up. I can tear things down. I can break a habit, like maybe smoking. I could have a robust habit that supports me smoking. And as I stop smoking, that neural circuit that used to support it gets spindlier and spindlier, like from right to left. It gets less and less strong in me. So I'm less apt to even have the urge to smoke. Does that make sense? So this is happening all the time in our nervous system. And we have some power over it. What we practice, what we intentionally practice, is going to build circuitry that supports us. So I can build circuits that support me with having a positive attitude, having maybe it's a deep, slow breath, which I'll come to shortly. You'll see. Okay, now, my ways to help your brain and your mind, I've divided into two pots, two categories. One is your physical body and one is your mind. All right, so this isn't going to be rocket science. This isn't going to be like revelatory, probably. And I actually welcome your questions. I have a few on my app, but if you have other things that don't make sense to you, or you want some clarification, I'm happy to take some relevant questions. So this is where we're headed. I'm going to talk about how we support our physical body, which supports our brain, because your brain is like any other organ. It's a tissue like your liver or your thigh muscle. It needs some of the same things your body does. And then our brain also needs to be used in ways only it can be used. Right? The brain has special functions. So if you don't use those functions, then they wither away. Right? If you don't use it, you lose it. So let's start. We're going to keep our body strong. So the first thing is exercise. So this is a long list of all the ways that exercise helps us. Basically, it helps everything. Your bones, your heart, your lungs, your immunity, your digestion, like every part of you is benefited by movement. We're made to move. And the things I highlighted here are cognitive function and memory, and actually mood. So move in any way you can. And if you have arthritis and you can't move, go to a water movement class. Or if you have some limitation, do what you can do. Don't just not, because every movement is helpful. All right. I threw in a few studies here about how when we move, we increase our blood flow. So kind of obviously, if you've got more blood flow going to my brain, then it's going to support the functions there. So it brings more blood flow to all the parts, including the parts that are about memory, called your hippocampus. The exercise I said earlier links to neurogenesis. So it actually helps counter what is considered to be normal brain shrinkage. Oh, I hate that. I hate that shrinkage is normal, So if we keep moving, so I might have said that too fast. So what's expected of old people is that their brains shrink, that we have less brain tissue, right? And what exercise does is maintain the brain volume. So it helps you build new nerve cells that maintain the robustness of that tissue, of that organ. All right. And we just know that when people are moving, when they're doing some kind of exercise, they're less apt to have cognitive decline. Even if you start late, if you start later in your life, in your 60s, you're still less apt to have cognitive decline. All right. So generally, brain health correlates with cardiovascular fitness. All right, diet. We are what we eat, so it's important that you eat good stuff, right? What does that mean? I feel like when I first started to teach, this is almost 30 years ago, people didn't know what refined versus whole was. And now I think we all got that. We got whole foods, we understand what whole food means. So basically, eat mostly, not perfectly, but mostly things that come from nature to you. Whole grains, fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds. If you can afford organic dairy or eggs or meat or grass-fed, or do that. It's just better for you to not have chemicals in your body. All right, this vehicle that we're driving, this life isn't meant to eat, chemicals or really substances that are food-like but are devoid of all nutrients. Like, that's not how we're meant to thrive, right? And what we know from the science is that foods that are ultra-processed or very processed are pro-inflammatory. So inflammation is like this, this hot button word now in modern medical research. Like, inflammation is what causes everything now. It's the underlying cause of arthritis, yes, but heart disease and cancer and even depression all has underneath, the underlying cause is inflammation. So foods that are non-nutritive, foods that are highly refined, are not giving you life. In fact, they're pushing you toward disease. So we know that inflammation markers in our body prompt the body to have inflammation in all kinds of organ systems, but also in our brain. So it's called neuroinflammation, which lead to neurodegenerative diseases, which is a bummer. You don't want that. All right. Anything more to say about that? I think that's good. Oh, my point was, do you ever notice if you just, sometimes we just have to eat whatever, processed foods or fast foods, or we're not in a place where we can make a meal or get good quality food. Do you ever notice how you feel from that? Do you notice you're foggier or heavier or denser, or maybe you're anxious because you feel kind of overstimulated from the chemicals or the sugars in it? It doesn't feel good. And, that's in all my patients, I tell them, you're the scientist. This is your laboratory. Just pay it. There's not good, bad, right, wrong. Don't should on yourself. But just notice what makes me feel my best. So that's really what I'm asking you to do. Notice how you feel when you eat good quality stuff. Fresh food, fresh. I'm a vegetarian mostly, except when I visit my family. And I'm lucky to eat vegetables and beans and grains all the time. And I feel like it helps me a lot. I feel like I'm full of life and vigor most days, And so when I go to visit my family, and now there's coffee cake on the counter, white flour, white sugar, and there's all kinds of processed food, and I start to eat it, I'm like, ooh. Okay, note to self, it's still true. The experiment that I did last year at this time is still true. The data is still holding up that I don't feel good when I eat this way. It's tempting, it's tasty, but doesn't really feel good. All right. Sleep. Another obvious thing. We all know that when we sleep badly, we don't think as clear, right? We're not as sharp. We're not as attentive. It's easier to fall asleep. What did she say? Right? It's hard to make decisions. It's hard to feel confident. So many things go south when we're not rested. So that's the obvious. So we need enough sleep. Enough sleep is somewhere between 7 and 8 hours. Studies say, some people say they get by on 6. Some folks really feel like they need 9. I'm aiming for 7. That's my golden spot. But you figure out what's right for you. And then just know this. So yes, it matters that we're rested. But this is also happening, that while we're sleeping, there's a cleansing process happening in our brains. This is kind of relatively new. A few years ago, they discovered this thing called glymphatics. Doesn't matter that you know. It's like these little vessels inside of our brains that clear out the debris, the old stagnant extracellular fluid gets cleared out by these glymphatic vessels. They look just like this. Little gnomes in our brains, right? But this is important because what we know is that the amyloid, cognitive decline is often linked to proteins that accumulate in the brain, like amyloid and tau. And so these glymphatics are clearing that out. They're helping us get rid of any kind of old junky stuff, right? So that's another reason why it's important to sleep. Not just to feel like you're refreshed and clear and rested and rejuvenated, but this cleansing process is happening, and over time that really matters. All right. Stress. Oh, okay. I talk a lot about stress with my patients. So stress feels like it's just part of modern life, right? It's just part of the package. We all have deadlines and pressures and too much to do and too little time. And that, as long as we feel like our stress is manageable, like I can meet the demand on me and then I can recover, it doesn't cause too much damage to us. But when we feel like we're under the gun all the time, our adrenaline rises, which is good. That helps us get stuff done. You know, adrenaline is in me right now, helping me hopefully project this to you so you hear it. Right? We need it to like get to focus. But when we have too much adrenaline and then too much cortisol, which is the other kind of long-term stress hormone, then it pushes the body toward inflammation states again. It also pushes the body toward high blood pressure and diabetes and high cholesterol, all kinds of things that lead us toward heart disease, which is the number one killer of people in our culture. So it has really bad long-term effects if we don't counter it. So how do we counter it? Many of us exercise, right? That's people say, I go out for a walk, or I go to the gym, right? Some of us go to yoga. So this is my invitation to you to think about your breathing. So the breath is the easiest way for you to access the other part of your nervous system. We have two parts of our nervous system. One is all about go. It's called your fight or flight or sympathetic. It's like go, do, act. It's also the one that rises when we feel threatened or when we're afraid. And the other part of it, just as hardwired in us, is called the parasympathetic or the relaxation response. It's really there, I promise you. You all got it. And we usually access it when we're relaxing on the beach. Maybe you're on vacation, right? Or maybe you're in front of your TV at night, or somewhere that you recover from your day. Maybe in that moment you're shifting into that relaxed state, but maybe not. A lot of us can distract our minds by our screens or TVs or talking, but still our body gets stuck in this kind of hyper drive, this sympathetic go, go, go. And then it's hard to wind down, it's hard to sleep, and those chemicals, those stress chemicals are still in us. So to really feel like you're shifting your nervous system, I teach people how to breathe. So I'd like to take just a couple minutes. How are we doing on time? We're doing pretty great. Let's, if you're comfortable, lower your gaze or close your eyes and feel your body in your chair. If you're standing, maybe you lean on the wall. So let your weight settle down. Feel your hips heavy. Let your weight sink into the supports beneath you. And relax your face. Relax your eyes and your jaw. Relax your neck and your shoulders. Let your arms hang loose and heavy. Let your belly relax. See if it has any grip. Let go of that grip. Relax your hips, your buttocks, your thighs, your lower legs down to your feet. So be as relaxed as you can be. Don't fall out of your chair, but be relaxed as you can be, just only using the muscles you need to keep yourself up in space. And then feel yourself breathing. If it helps, you can put a hand at your chest and a hand at your navel and really feel your body filling as you inhale and feel yourself empty as you exhale. So let yourself feel yourself. Be in your body, feeling your body breathing. As the inhale comes in, it brings in life energy. As you exhale, you're releasing tension or worry. So let your mind be filled with just the sensations of breathing, feeling the breath come in, feeling the breath go out, feeling the breath come in, and find your own natural rhythm, what's comfortable and relaxed for you, and feeling your body resting. So let it be a very kinesthetic experience. You're in your body, feeling it breathing, feeling it resting. And when the mind drifts away, because it does that, bring it back to the breath, to the feeling of resting, to the feeling of your breath filling and emptying. And you might notice over these few minutes that your breath changes, that even in this short amount of time, your breath might get a little bit longer, a little bit slower, a little bit deeper. Good. And now I'm going to ask you to open your eyes. You don't have to. I hope that felt good to you. You had a little mini vacation. That was 3 minutes. 3 minutes. So simple. You could put that in your day. Just saying. You could. It fits, right? All right. People always say I don't have time to relax. You do have time to relax. All right, so we're going to shift. So we let me just go back. We talked about exercise, food, sleep, and de-stressing, okay? Our whole body needs all those things. Every day, ideally, we need those things. And now we're going to look a little bit about what we need to do for our brains when it comes to just how we work with our mind itself. Our mind is amazing, right? Our brains are amazing. They think, they learn, they create, they innovate. Oh my gosh. So when you want to keep your mind strong, you need to keep doing those things, right? You need to keep learning or challenging your brain, your brain, not just doing the same things over and over and over again. So to keep your brain strong, do something challenging. And that could be learn like the violin or learn Spanish, or it could be going back to like a community college and learning, accounting, because you always wanted to learn that. Or maybe it's that you want to travel. Travel is really a good way to challenge yourself. Go to a new place. Don't go to the same place every year. I mean, that's wonderful and comfortable and relaxing. But occasionally, do something that's really novel, that stretches you. I just got back from India about a month ago. Whoa. That was novel. There was a lot of novel going on. From the traffic patterns to the culture to the food taste and the smells. Like everything was pretty novel. It was great. Yeah, and maybe even challenge yourself by reading a newspaper you don't usually read. Like think of like other people's points of view. That's another way to challenge your mind, is understanding the antagonist. What's their point of view? Could I open myself to that kind of challenge as well? Right. All right. This feels. I have a couple of. I would say elderly. I'm old, but I'm not that old. So like people who are in their 70s and 80s who do a lot of travel, and they are so snappy. They're always going someplace, and I'm like, you guys are great. They're going to Thailand, and they're going to, Africa. I'm like, really? And so it's pretty awesome. I feel like it's really helpful. Then you navigate new situations all the time, and it's good for us to do that. All right. The other thing here is about connection. That feels more about heart, doesn't it, than about mind. But it's an important piece of our health. We are mammals. Mammals are herd animals. We need to connect to each other. Part of why the pandemic was so devastating is that people were so isolated. We need to feel connected to each other. So and it might already be happening for you. Maybe you have family, you have community, you have church, you have I have a book club. Like where do you feel really seen and held and honored and revered and comfortable and relaxed? Like we wanted those kind of connections with other people. And studies show that really matters to our cognitive function and also to our longevity, that we need to have connection with each other. So if you don't have that, it's not too late. You can build those things. You can build more friendships or more connection with others. All right. And part of why I think that is, why it's so important, is that the connection with each other actually helps mitigate the stress of life. So there's a hormone called oxytocin, also called the love hormone, that actually has been studied, and it shows that when you have a lot of oxytocin, it helps mitigate the cortisol, the negative effects of chronic stress. So oxytocin is a hormone that's made in our brains, in our pituitary gland, and most of the time we think about it being released during childbirth and also during lovemaking. But we also secrete it when we just connect with people. Maybe today you're meeting some new people, or you're bonding with some folks, and that creates us releasing oxytocin. So it's like the grease in the room. It's like the fun in the room. I'm comfortable. I feel connected. I feel cared for in some way, right? And that feeling of connection can help us manage the stress of life better. So I think that might be why it's linked to people living longer, having better health. It's because it's actually helping us manage life when we have our tribe. All right. Attitude, just a quick slide here about attitude. There's just data out there in the sociology world about how attitude matters. So if we expect to lose our marbles, if we expect to decline because our people always become forgetful or whatever, a little bit confused or a little less sharp when they get into their 50s or 60s or 70s, we will because our expectation manifests itself. So, and when people don't, when they expect to be vibrant and happy and engaged and smart and learning their whole life, they are. So just know that little bit of intention or expectation really matters in how you age, how you live, really. And I know there's some young folks in the room, and I know that quote I put in the very first slide was Fred Astaire, if you know who he is, because you still are so young. He said, aging is like everything else. To be good at it, you got to start young. So you have a head start. I want to end here with meditation. We go to 45, right? 40, okay, good, because this is my last plug before we talk about supplements and things we can do, things we can take. So meditation, I said earlier, is one of the things we know increases neurogenesis, increases the production of nerve cells in our brains. So this is a bit of history. We've been studying meditation for a long time, since the 70s at least. And the yogis, the ancients, have been doing it for thousands of years. But we have modern data on a few decades of studies. And so we know that the studies show that meditation is good for anxiety, helps us feel more relaxed. Herbert Benson was at Harvard, and he studied the relaxation response. Jon Kabat-Zinn, you've probably heard of him. He invented the mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, system that's been studied in lots of research studies out there. It's based on a Buddhist practice, but he took all the Buddhism out of it and made it just be a breathing, very kind of dry, clinical thing to do, which made it be more easy to study, basically. And so that's shown that's been really good for all kinds of things, mostly anxiety and depression. And then this man named Richard Davidson studied a lot of long established Buddhist meditators and found a lot of things, but he found that there was actually changes in their brain, that they had increase in the volume of their brain that was about empathy or connection or other as opposed to self. And he found there was a shrinking of the parts of the brain that were about the stress response, the amygdala, the kind of instinctual defensive responses in our brain were less in these long-term meditators. So since then, that was a while ago, there's been other studies showing similar things that can happen. So like even in people just meditating 30 minutes a day for a couple of years, so not these long-term Buddhists, it can be any of us. They also showed this cortical, this brain thickening, this brain growth, right, in these regular people, not these Buddhist long-term meditators. And even in students that were taught a 30-minute meditation for 8 weeks, started to see these changes in their brain architecture. So I think that's kind of wild, that simply sitting quietly, breathing, focusing your mind is enough to generate this this change in this incredible essential organ, right? Right. So that just feels powerful to me. That you don't have to be expert. You don't have to be, a lifelong meditator to have these big effects happen. And just this is the same thing actually. There's just another monk in it. What I like to think about is that what's actually happening? What is meditation? Meditation is really a quieting of the mind. It's bringing the mind in to a quiet place. It's not imagining rainbows and unicorns. It's not affirmation. I am perfect. I am whatever, or I am well and whole. And those are fine things. I'm not saying that, but meditation is really a quieting and a presence. You're cultivating being in yourself and being present to what already is. You're not making up new things. It sounds so passive, and yet there is a wealth inside of us that is so drowned out by the noise of life that we get disconnected from it. Sorry, apparently that I said something that touches me. Sorry about that. But there is the thing you're seeking is inside of you, is what I'm trying to say. That the quieting of the chatter in our mind helps us feel and sense and know ourselves in a deeper way. And from that place, we know our purpose. We know what we need to do next. That sense of inner wisdom, that small, still voice inside of us, is what guides our life. Helps us make decisions. Helps us have vision. Helps us feel right and like convicted of our own next steps. So for me, that feels like a big thing when it comes to empowerment. Feeling like you are doing what you need to be doing. You have this clarity that comes from a deep place, it can come from your cognition, from your analysis of the situation, but it feels most fabulous when it's coming from a gut place inside of you, a deep knowing. And your friends and your family might say, "What? You're moving to Tahiti? What are you talking about?" Right? But you might say, "You know what? I know it. This is where I need to go next," right? When I stepped off the bus or off the train, the medical train, I went through all my medical training. Oh my gosh, I was good. I was a good student. I was a good doctor in internal medicine. And then I was like, I don't think so. And I didn't want to give everyone a pill for the problem. So I stepped off that. I stepped out of that river. And I said, I think I'm going to go to massage school. And my dad was like, "What?" But somehow there was this knowing that I didn't belong in that allopathic world. We need that allopathic world. I'm not fanatical. I'm not against it. It's great in crisis. But for a lot of our day-to-day problems, headaches and GI disturbance and knee pain, it's not going to fix it for us. It's not going to help us. At least maybe it's starting to morph that way. But a lot of it has to do with pills. And pills can help sometimes, but they're not often the solution. But I digress. My point is that I'm excited to encourage you to even consider learning to meditate. I think the world would be a wonderful place if everyone knew how to drop into their own purity, their own inner knowing, and live from there. Live that authentic way from there. All right, so do I have time? Let's say we do. Let's do it. So let's just take another 3 minutes, and we're going to go back to our breathing, and I'm going to call it meditation this time. But so the Institute teaches breath-centered practice, breath-centered yoga movements, breath-centered meditation. So it's your foundation for going inward, right? Because we said it balances out your nervous system. It helps you move into that relaxed state where you feel grounded and calm and centered. It also is the state that helps your body access its own healing power. So it's a good state for all kinds of things. All right, so let's just spend a few minutes again in this kind of quiet, centered place. So I'm going to ask you again to find a comfortable way of sitting. So sink in, let your body sink into the supports that it has. Maybe you lean into the wall back there. Maybe you let your body really lean into your chair so you feel support. Novel idea, support's good. And then just kind of tap into your breath again. See if you can find that deep, slow, even breathing. Feeling the breath come in, feeling the breath go out. You're training your brain. It's like you're training your dog to sit and stay. You're telling your brain, stay here. Feel this. Stay there. Keep feeling that. Feel the breath come in, feel the breath come out. You're training your focus, actually. So your mind, the screen of your mind is filled with the sensations of breathing. The body filling and emptying. And then just in a moment, scan down the body from head to toes and just release any place that might be gripping. Release any tension around your face, your eyes, your jaw, your shoulders, your arms. Scan down the body and just release any other tension that might be unnecessary. Belly, hips, thighs, legs, feet. So you're in a supported pose. You're breathing deep and even. You release any extra tension. And now bring your awareness to the feeling of the breath at the nostrils. So feel how the air comes in right here at the gate, at the nose. Feel how the breath comes in there and how it comes out. And try to, again, it's subtle, but try to keep your focus on the sensation of breath coming in and breath coming out. And again, when your mind wanders away, bring it back. It's in training. Just bring it back. Do it again. Feel the breath come in through the nose, the nostrils, and the breath come out. And you might notice a difference in the temperature. The inhaled air feels cool. The exhaled air feels warm. If your mind wanders away, bring it back. All right, you can open your eyes. Our brains can only do one thing at a time. They're either thinking, analyzing, organizing out here, or they're sensing, right? Yes, we multitask, but it's all out here. We're doing things out here, or we're sensing in here. So when we shift our focus to sensing, to feeling our breath, feeling our body, we stop the chatter. Did you notice that? That when you're really feeling the sensations of your breath, you are no longer thinking. That's why people like yoga. It makes them stop thinking for a few moments. I know we only have like a couple minutes left, but let me just address a little bit about supplements. Nobody knows. Just by the way, there's no absolute, you must do this. B12, if you're deficient, causes neurologic problems. So make sure that if you're vegan especially, or maybe you have a condition that makes you not absorb it well, then that can cause neurologic problems. And that's reversible cognitive decline with B12. Same thing with thyroid. Actually, hypothyroidism can also cause neurologic problems. So those are the two things that are easily reversible. Vitamin D, I have it on this slide, was showing that when people have low levels of vitamin D, they're more apt to have cognitive decline. And then omega-3 fats are known to be essential. They're essential for the evolution, for the health of your nervous system. So you need to have enough of that. All right. And then I have a bunch of things on this slide, just maybe. There's research on all of them that shows correlative data. So in other words, the people who took this had better cognition than those who didn't take it, but there's not a causative reaction. There isn't they took it and their brains got better. It was more like they were already taking it and their cognition was better than those who didn't take it. But that's not a causative study. Does that make sense? There's not a clear, they did this and it caused this. It's more just correlation. All right. Somebody in the room asked about adaptogens. Adaptogens are herbs that nourish the nervous system. They build stress resiliency. I am taking them all the time since menopause because I feel like, why not give myself some support? They're tonics, they're nourishing. There's a lot of them. Like in Ayurveda, there's ashwagandha, there's Shazandra in Chinese medicine, there's Ramani, there's a bunch. In every system of herbalism in the whole world, there's this category of herbs that are nourishing and fortifying that help us cope with stress. So I take them for 2 months, and then I don't take them for a few months, and I go back on them for a few months, because why not? I'm out doing my thing. I want to stay supported. I'm trying to support myself. But I'm not like, you must take it. If you want to do an experiment and take them, take them. Which ones, right? How to know what to take. You got to find someone who knows a good quality herb company. Maybe you know someone, maybe there's a local company. I use a lot of different brands, everything from Gaia Herbs to Banyan Botanicals to Herbalists and Alchemists to Bowl Botanica. There's so many. But find someone if you really want to work with that. All right. I think that's all I had to say. So this is my summary slide, really. So work with your body, keep it strong, work with your mind, learning, relationship, meditation, and take supplements as you think you need, all right? Questions before we wrap it up? I hope that was helpful. Please stop by. I'm going to be at the booth at 1:30 if you want to stop by and chat with me. Actually, I'll probably be there all afternoon, actually.
Dr. Carrie, I think we have one question. Do we have time?
Thank you.
What hints do you have to increase your meditation time? So I'm good for like 10 or 15 minutes,
Great.
But 30 minutes seems like an impossible goal for me.
Yeah. So 15 minutes is great. And then maybe let it be 18 minutes. And then let it be 20 minutes. And so just, on a good day, you might be able to sit 30, and on a bad day, it might be 8. So I'd say stay with it for as long as you can. And when you're done, when your mind won't stay anymore, okay, I'm done for today. Don't make it be I have to sit for this long every day. All right? Yeah. All right, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.